stream, everyone. And today we will be doing some D&D, and we will be starting with some D&D basics. Actually, this is going to be the first video of D&D basics, how to game, my first series on YouTube that I'm going to try to start. And we're going to start with some basic character creation for D&D players that have never played before. So if you have never played D&D before, you're probably starting with either 3.5 or 5th edition. 5th edition being the most recent one, and it's the one that I personally recommend since it's a lot easier to understand. And if you're a player, the first thing that you will ever need is this right here. It's the Player's Handbook of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. This right here contains everything that you need to create your character, okay? And this right here is what we are going to try to go through today. And we're going to create a really simple character. I haven't chosen anything in particular, so we're going to go ahead and go with my one of my first characters that I created, a Dwarven fighter. So let's get started. First thing that you need to do right here is choose a character name. You can always start by your name. So let's put Inquisitor. Oops, Inquisitor. Let's go with character's name. We're gonna call it Aslifan. The class and level, we chose fighter. Level 1. Here you go. The race, we chose dwarf. Oops. Yeah, dwarf. Alignment, I chose for my first character lawful good. So LG for lawful good, and no experience points right away. The background, I didn't choose a pre-made background, but let's do it right here, and let's go ahead and put soldier, just like that. So these are the basic information that you will. This is the basic information that you'll need when creating a character. I put it in because I already know it, but the way that you actually learn that information is reading through your book, reading through your manual right here. So there's a lot of things that you can choose from, and there's a lot of choices that you will have to make. I am going with choices that I pre-made with the goal of making this video a little faster, because it tends to take quite a while to create a character, especially when you do it from scratch, right? So this is the very, very basic information. So let's start getting through it. Let's start explaining it, and let's start explaining why I chose this. So the dwarf works really well with a fighter, depending on what you want to do. I wanted to do a tank kind of class. If you are familiar with anything that's MMORPGs, there are no tanks in this game. There's no real way, if you want, to have people attack you. There are some ways to make them want to attack you, but there's not an actual way of just going right ahead, hey, attack me. So that's that. But the dwarf is just it has always been a race that I loved, and for my first character that I ever created, which is this one right here, I really wanted to be dwarf no matter what. But if you're going for the more statistic-based choice, a dwarf is a good choice. And let's go ahead and find the dwarf right here, and we'll I will read this information for you guys because I cannot put it online. I have not found a site where you can just have the book online, so it's not something I really want to do. So let's go to page 18 of our manual for the dwarves. So I'm not going to read everything that we have right here, because there's a bunch of lore and stuff like that that will allow you to role play your character. However, I am trying to explain to you how to choose the statistics and not how to create a character from scratch. Right? Well, how to create a character from scratch, but not in a role term in a role play point of view, I am trying to show you a statistic point of view. So we're gonna go ahead and skip to the dwarf traits. So here we read, your dwarf character has an assortment of ironborn abilities, part and parcel of dwarven nature. Ability score. Your ability score increases, your constitution score increases by 2. So we're gonna mark right here, just for now, just reminds us, constitution, oops, there you go, constitution plus 2. Very simple. We will add that later. Second thing that we have is dwarves mature at the same rate as humans, but they're considered young until they reach the age of 50 years old. On average, they live about 350 years. So if that's something that you are playing with, that up to now we haven't really been playing with age in my campaigns, but if that's something you're playing with, it's something that you have to consider. So let's just put it right here, just for now again. Let's say that our character is going to be 60 years old, right? There you go. Then we have the size. Dwarves stand between 4 and 5 feet tall and are average about 150 pounds. Your size is medium. So, like most classes, you are medium size. There are some small ones, but we'll get to that later. So that means that you don't have any benefit nor disadvantage. Speed. Your base speed is 25 feet. However, your speed is not reduced by wearing heavy armor. So speed right here, 25 feet. We have dark vision. So let's write that right here. And dark vision means that you can, here, I will read it to you actually. Dark vision. Accustomed to the life underground, you have superior vision in the dark and dim conditions. You can see in dim light within 60 feet of you as if it were bright light, and in darkness as if it were dim light. You can't discern color in darkness, only shades of gray. So, if you want, we can write here 60 feet. Dim equals normal, and what was the other one? Sorry. And dark equals dim. Oops, dim. That's if you don't know what it does, but dark vision is one of those abilities that about half-ish the races have. So it's an ability that you will learn really fast. It's not a very complicated one. We will continue reading, and we will read the Dwarven Resilience. You have advantage on saving throws against poison, and you have resistance against poison damage. So again, we go here and write Dwarven Resilience. So I'm gonna just put it like this, since Dwarven Resilience. And we're gonna have advantage on saving throws versus poison, and advantage on damage, and you have resistance to damage, to poison damage, right? So we're gonna try to keep it brief. Oops, what the hell? Yeah, we're gonna try to keep it as brief as we can, because we have a lot of stuff to write. So just make sure that you understand yourself, you know. Then you have Dwarven Combat Training. You have proficiency with a battle axe, hand axe, throwing hammer, and war hammer. I do not put that here. I am gonna put that right here in the proficiencies. So we chose battle axe, hand axe, throwing hammer, and war hammer. So battle axe, throwing axe, right? No, hand axe, which is the same thing. Hand axe, throwing hammer, and great hammer. There you go. It really doesn't matter, because where the fighter gets proficiency with almost every weapon. But even then, you know, it's not great hammer. Sorry, I do apologize. It's war hammer. I was thinking of great axe. I am sorry about that. There you go. Then you have a tool proficiency. You gain proficiency with the artisan tools of your choice: smith tools, brewer's supplies, or mason tools. I personally chose the smith tools. There we go. We have a stone cunning, which means whenever you make an intelligence history check related to the origin of the stonework, you are considered proficient in the history skill and add double your proficiency bonus to the check instead of your normal proficiency bonus. Which brings me to proficiency bonuses. When you start, it is always +2 for now. 5th edition just begun and there are no bonuses to proficiency. Always +2, and you will keep a +2 until level 5. You can see that in every character that you choose, it will be specified. It comes later, but since we're talking about it, I'll put it right away. So we had a proficiency in stone cunning. So since I already know what stone cunning is, I will just mark it like this, okay? But you can very well just put it double proficiency, 2 times prof, on stone history checks. There you go. Oops. So that's that. Then we have the languages, which languages tend to go with the proficiencies on the left bottom corner right here. So let's go, yeah, okay, let's just write it on the top actually, because we're gonna have more proficiencies than the languages. So let's just write languages. We have Dwarven and Common. So those are our proficiencies up to now, right? At this point, we have to choose a subrace. We have 2 choices. We have the Hill Dwarf or the Mountain Dwarf. As a Hill Dwarf, you have the keen senses, deep intuition, and remarkable resilience. The Gold Dwarfs of Fyron, in their mighty southern kingdom, are Hill Dwarfs, as are the exiled Nadar and the debased Klar of Kirn in the Dragonlance setting. Your wisdom score increases by 1, and you have Dwarven toughness. Your hit point maximum increases by 1, and it increases by 1 every time you gain a level. That's excellent. That's very, very good. You also have Mountain Dwarf. As a Mountain Dwarf, you are strong and hardy, accustomed to the difficult life in rugged terrain. You're probably on the tall side for a dwarf, and tend toward lighter coloration. The Shield Dwarfs of Northern Faerun, as well as the ruling Hylar clan, as the ruling Hylar clan and the noble Dwemer clan of Dragonlance are Mountain Dwarfs. Your ability score, your strength score increases by 2. And your Dwarven armor training, you have proficiency with light and medium armor. So, personally, I chose for this particular category, I chose the Mountain Dwarf. But it wasn't my choice. My choice was not based on stats. It was based on how I wanted to roleplay my character. Since I am playing a fighter, the proficiency doesn't matter because you get it as a fighter. So you lose a little bit of stats, but you do get a +2 in strength instead of the +1 on wisdom. So let's choose that. We're gonna go with right here. We're gonna go right here with strength +2. And the proficiency, I will not mark it because, like I said, as a fighter we will. But if you are starting your first character, it is important to mark it right here, you know, proficiency with light and medium armor. Perfect. Well, since you're already here, you're already in the proficiency thing, you really don't need the proficiency, so light and medium armor, right? So that's that for everything that has to do with dwarves. And that's what we have to know, that's what we do, and that's everything that we have to know. Second, we already chose that we were going to create a fighter, right? So we are going to go to our manual again, and we are going to go straight to the fighter page, which is the page 64. So let's skip there and go to the page 64. Perfect. Here we go. Oops. Oh, I must have been mistaken. I am sorry. The fighter 70, sorry, the druid is 64. Here we go. Perfect. So the fighter, again, you have a bunch of lore and a bunch of things that in the manual that help you understand your character as how you want to roleplay it. And right here, I will read some of it because it tends to be a little bit important for how you want to create your character. A human in clanging plate armor holds her shield before her as she runs towards the masked goblins. An elf behind her, clad in studded leather armor, peppers the goblin with arrows loose from his exquisite bow. The half-orc nearby shouts orders, helping the two combatants coordinate their assault to the best advantage. A dwarf in chainmail interposes his shield between the ogre's club and his companion, knocking the deadly blow aside. His companion, a half-elf in scale armor, swings two scimitars in a blinding whirl as she circles the ogre, looking for a blind spot in its defenses. A gladiator fights for the spot in the arena, a master with his trident and the net, skilled at toppling foes and moving them around for the crowd's delight, and his own tactical advantage. His opponent's swords flare with blue light an instant before he sends light flashing from the forth to smite him. All of these heroes are fighters, perhaps the most diverse class of all the characters in the worlds of Dungeons & Dragons. Questing knights, conquering overlords, royal champions, elite foot soldiers, hardened mercenaries, and bandit kings as fighters. They all share an unparalleled mastery with the weapons and armors, and throughout knowledge of the skills of combat. And they are well acquainted with death, both meeting it out and staring it definitely in the face. So the reason I wanted to read this is because fighter, as it's mentioned, is one of the more versatile classes, so you have a lot of choices. Like I said, like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, this particular character is going to be more of a tanky one, right? So let's jump right away into the quick build. So you can make a fighter quickly by following these suggestions. First, make strength or dexterity your highest ability score, depending on whether you want to focus on melee weapons or on archery. Your finesse weapons. Your next highest score should be constitution or intelligence if you plan to adopt the Eldritch Knight martial archetype. Second, choose the soldier background. Right? So this is a quick build. Let's start right here. So the hit dice that we can put right here is a D10. The total, because we are level 1, it's 1. The total is equal to your level. The hit points at first level is 10 plus your modifier in Constitution. So we will do this stats at the end. So we will fix that at the end. The hit points at higher level, blah blah blah. So proficiencies, all armor and shields. So this right here, we can come and just remove this right away and click all armor and shields. There we go. Then the weapons, simple weapons and martial weapons. So for the moment, there's no exotic weapons yet. So simple and martial weapons. It's pretty much every weapon. Right after that, we have the tools. We have no proficiency with tools, and the saving throws we have strength and constitution. So constitution right here and strength right here, right? Skills. We can choose 2 skills from acrobatics, animal handling, athletics, history, insight, intimidation, perception, and survival. So my character, I decided that he was going to be quite keen with his eyes. So we're going to go ahead and get the perception one. And he's also going to be someone that can read other people. So let's go ahead and give him insight. Right? Perfect. You start with the following equipment in addition to the equipment granted by your background. Either a chainmail, so we're going to write that right here, a chainmail, leather, a chainmail or leather, longbow, and 20 arrows. So here we're going to go with a chainmail. Then we're gonna go with a martial weapon and a shield, or two martial weapons. So this you can choose a little bit later, but for my dwarf, I gave him a warhammer, if I remember correctly. So for this you have to skip a little bit later to the page 149, and you go under the martial weapons, martial melee weapons, and we're gonna go ahead and give him a warhammer. It's a 1d8 bludgeoning, which means that he deals 1d8 of damage whenever he hits. However, it's versatile, which means that you can grab it with two hands if you drop your shield and do a d10 instead. So 1d10 of damage, one 10-sided die. So we said a great hammer. Was it a great hammer or warhammer? Let's just put great hammer. Yeah, it's a great hammer and a war axe. That's it. You also get a light crossbow. Yeah, it was a martial weapon and a shield, or two martial weapons. So we also have a shield. So a great hammer plus a shield. Then we have light crossbow and 20 bolts, or two hand axes. So let's pick the two hand axes, because they are throwable with strength. And lastly, we have a Dungeoneer's pack or an Explorer's pack. And since you can go read the difference between those two, there's quite a bit of it's quite a big difference. But we're gonna go ahead and choose the Explorer's pack, because that's the pack that, in my opinion, is the thing that you get the most of the basic of everything, right? So the Great Hammer, let's write it right away in our attacks and spellcasting. Great Hammer. It was attack bonus. It has not been decided, but it's 1d8 bludgeoning, right? There we go. That's what we have right now, and we can even go check right now, since we already have this as chosen. We can go again to the page 149 and look for the hand axes. If I remember correctly, it's 1d6. So simple weapons, hand axe, 1d6 slashing, and they can be thrown. So hand axe, 1d6 slash. There we go. So that's everything that we need to know for the quick build in terms of equipment. Of course, we're gonna get a little bit more from our background, but right now, since we are almost done with everything, perception, there you go. Since we are almost done with everything here, let's talk about the stats. So there are multiple ways that you can do stats. The stats, if I remember correctly, in the base stats, if you take the pre-made stats, it's a 115, 113, 112, 110, and 1.8. So for example, if we go with that, our first stat would be strength, which would be 15. Our second stat would be constitution, which would be 13. Then we have 12, a 10, and an 8, right? 15 others. Well, am I missing one? Okay, let's see. 12, 10. Yeah, I'm missing one. Okay, so there's a 10, there's an 8, and there is also a 14. Okay, so it's I'm sorry about that. So it's 15, 14, 13, 12, 10, 8. Those are the base stats. Now, if from those, that's one of the choices that you get, right? You can just go for those base stats, and you can apply them. Now, the way that it works is very, very simple. Of course, this is not, by the way, what we're gonna choose for our character, but it's just to show you how the stats work. And the way that it works is really, really simple. You start by 10. 1011 is 0. So you have no bonus from 1011. Then you go up or down from there. So for example, and it's by 2. So 1011 0, 12 13 plus 1, 14 15 plus 2, 16 17 plus 3, and 18 plus 4. You can't have more than 18 when you start. I'll let you know right away. So this, okay, let's say that these were our stats, right? So we would probably go with something like this. So we would have a 15 in strength, we would have a 14 in constitution, we would have a 13 in dexterity, we would have a 12 in wisdom, we would have a 10 in intelligence and probably an 8 in charisma, or vice versa, 10 in charisma and 8 in intelligence, depending on how do you want your character to be. And it would mean that if we go again, okay, so let's see, if 10 11 it's plus 1, it's plus 0, I'm sorry, that means that 8 and 9 it's minus 1, right? Then it would mean that 11 and 12 it's plus 1, 10 we said it was 0. So if 12 and 13 is plus 1, that means 14 15 it's plus 2, and 13 is plus 1, right? So this would be our base stats. The thing is that we have bonuses, so we have plus 2 to constitution and plus 2 to strength. So let's go change that right away. Plus 2 and plus 2. 16, there you go. So our strength goes all the way up to 3. And our constitution goes all the way up to 3 also. Now, you must be thinking, but wait a minute. Wouldn't it be more beneficial for you to put, let's say, I don't know, a 14 in the strength, and that way you would get a plus 2, a plus 3 also? Well, you're right. That would be more beneficial for me. But I'm going with the easiest route here because I'm trying to explain to you guys how it's done. And I could very well indeed put a 14 here, so it would fall to a 16, and I would still get my plus 3, and then I could put my 15 here, and no, it wouldn't change anything, but we could put, let's say, my 15 in here and put my 14 in here. No, it wouldn't change anything. Sorry about that. I'm just mixing you up for nothing. Forget I said that. So now, since I am, the next thing that we want to check, okay, it's the health. So if we went with these stats, right, my constitution is plus 3. So with every single character that you start, you will always get the maximum health that you can at level 1. And the maximum health depends on your hit dice, like I'm saying right here. For a fighter is a d10. If you took, let's say, a ranger, it would be a d8. If you took a wizard, it would be a d6. And if you took a barbarian, it would be a d12. So you always get max in level 1, which would be that we get 10 plus constitution. So that would be 13. 13 maximum hit points. And how many hit points do I have right now? 13. Because we haven't taken any damage. Now, what I wanted to let you guys know is that there is a second way to make these stats right here, and it's by rolling them. It's a little bit more random, and you take a little bit more risk, and you have to make sure that your DM, your dungeon master, is okay with letting you roll these stats. Some DMs prefer to just have you take the base stats, that way you get a all around very well balanced character, nothing too strong, nothing too low. But there is a way that you can choose to roll them, and I will show you that right away. So right now, let me see. Okay, so let's go on a site called Roll Dice Online, and let me show you how you would roll the dice. So you need so you need a d6 to choose a d6 right here, or if you have physical dice, that's just fine too. You need 4 of them, 4 d6s. So Number of dice to roll, you have to lower it to 4, and number of rolls, you go to 6. So if you have the physical dice, that means that you're gonna have to roll 6 times. If you keep it just like that, that means that you are okay with just 6. So how it works, let's roll our dice here. You make the sum of the 4 numbers that you have right here, but you make the sum of the 3 strongest numbers. That means that you do not take in account the lowest roll. So here, right here, we would have 5 plus 3 plus 2, which is 10. Here we would have 5 plus 4 plus 4, which is 13. Here we would have 3 plus 3 plus 3, which is 9. 6 plus 3 plus 1, which is 10. 6 plus 5 plus 5, which is 16. And 5 plus 5 plus 3, which is 13. So you see it's a little bit different on how the rolls are made. Right here we got somewhat lucky. We only have 1 9. And we have 2 10s, and the other numbers are high. So that's one way of doing it, but it's not the most what would say the most standard way of doing it. You can get really crappy rolls, and if it's the case, well, you're screwed, you know. But it's a way that I personally prefer. I prefer my character to have to roll, and normally my DMs let me reroll a second time if it's too weak. However, if I get too strong, I have to reroll again. That's the way I did it as a DM, and that's the way that my DMs have been doing it. Okay, so let's get back to the sheet right here. So that is the second way that I wanted to show you to roll your own stats. So now that we have all the stats, what does it mean, right? Well, it means that you have better or worse stats when you have to do abilities, when you have to do ability checks. So for example, if I were to do charisma based check, I would have to roll a d20 with no bonuses. So for example, if I were to persuade someone, I would have to roll a d20, and if I roll 10 in a d20, that's a 10, and if I roll 20 in a d20, I roll a 20. If we go with intelligence, so if I have to make an arcana check, well, I'm at -1, which means that every new roll I make, I'm gonna have to subtract 1 from the d20. So if I roll a 7, well, I'll end up rolling a 6, you know? That's how it works. However, anything that's strength related, I will have +3. Which means that if I have to do, there aren't that much. I think that it's only athletics that you get +3. If I were to do an athletics check, for example, if I had to push a very heavy cart, well, I would have a d20 +3. Now, since I took some proficiencies right here, that means that my proficiency bonus is added. So this is insight, which is wisdom. My wisdom is +1, so if I were to roll a 17, for example, I would get +1, right? Because it's a wisdom. However, since I am proficient in it, I can add my +2. So whenever I do an insight, I get a +3 bonus because I have +1 from wisdom and a +2 from my modifier. The same thing goes for perception. +3. And you can do this with everyone. For example, an acrobatics, since I'm dex, I would be +1. Let's see if it works like this. Nope. Okay. So, and you get the idea. I mean, you have to, fill up all the numbers, but you get the idea of how it's done. Another thing that we can, now that we have our stats, the second thing that we can fill is the attack bonus. So since the Great Hammer and the Hand Axes are both strength-based weapons, that means that we will apply our strength to the bonus. So it's +3 and +3. There we go. Now, let's go ahead and then we have our passive wisdom. So passive wisdom is always +10 plus your wisdom. So I have a passive wisdom of 11. Now, let's go ahead and check before we go into our background. Let's go to back to our page 149. Actually, this is going to be 100 and is it 49? No, it's 150. Oh, sorry about that. I thought that it was on the same page. It apparently is not. There you go, 145. So our mail, we have a chainmail, which is a base AC armor class of 16 and no bonuses. So you don't get a dexterity bonus, you don't get anything. We have disadvantage against stealth. So let's mark it right here. Disadvantage versus stealth. And since we have a shield and we are wearing our shield, it's +2. So we go up to 18 armor class, which is pretty good for a level 1 character. It's pretty much the best that you can get. You can't go higher than that unless you have a special character that gets something special from its background and your DM said that it was okay. Now, let's go ahead and go for our backgrounds. Backgrounds, if I remember correctly, it starts at 165. 125, my bad. 125, so let's go to the 125 page, and we're gonna go a little bit past that because we want to get to the soldier. So, Outlander, oops, I went too far. There we go, soldier. So, war has been your life for as long as you care to remember. You were trained as youth, studied the use of weapons and armor, learned the basic survival techniques, including how to stay alive on the battlefield. You might have been a part of a standing national army or a mercenary company, or perhaps a member of a local militia whose rose to prominence during the recent war. When you choose this background, work with your DM to determine which military organization you were a part of and how far you through the ranks you progressed, and what kind of experiences you had during your military career. What is a standing army, a town guard, or a village militia? Or it might have been a noble's or merchant's private army, or a mercenary company. So you get skill proficiency in athletics and intimidation. So we get athletics, and intimidation. Here we go. Sorry about that. Tool proficiencies, one type of gaming set, and vehicles. So let's put, let's say we're proficient with cards, playing cards, and land vehicles. There we go. Once that we have that turned in, we are gonna go ahead and the equipment, as in an insignia of a rank, a trophy taken from a fallen enemy, a dagger, a broken blade, or a piece of banner, a set of bone dice or deck of cards, a set of common cloth, a belt, pouch containing this 10 gold pieces. Sorry, my French coming out there. So 10 gold pieces. There we go. And let's go. An insignia of rank. So I had worked this with my DM, and my character was a noble prince. So instead of being a soldier, I could have chosen a noble, but I chose the soldier because he is to be the head of the dwarven army of a particular city. And when it says an insignia of rank, I'm not going to put an insignia of rank, but I am going to put an insignia of my banner, of my clan. So it was the clan Blackhammer. So clan Blackhammer insignia. There we go. After that, we have a trophy taken from a fallen enemy, a dagger, a broken blade, or a piece of banner. So I'm gonna go ahead and set that with my DM. We said that I wore a broken banner around my arm. So broken banner around arm. And then we already said that we were proficient with playing cards, so let's add the playing cards here. And anything else? A set of common clothes. So just common clothes. Clothes. There we go. C'est ça. J'ai presque fini, je fais juste une vidéo pour YouTube. C'est chill. Yep. Je pense qu'il dort. Anyway, now you get to choose a specialty. So, during your time as a soldier, you had a specific role to play in your unity or army. Roll a d8 to choose from the options in the table. So you can be an officer, scout, infantry, cavalry, or a healer. You can also be a quartermaster, a stand-bearer, support staff, cook, blacksmith, or something of the like. Since we already established that I was a prince, we will skip this part. Feature military rank. You have a military rank from your career as soldiers, or soldiers loyal to your former military organization still recognize your authority and influence, and they defer to you if they are lower rank. You can invoke your rank to exert influence over other soldiers and requisition simple equipment or horses for temporary use. You can also usually gain access to friendly military encampments and fortresses where your rank is recognized. So that's pretty much how it works, since I am a prince. And suggested characteristics. The horrors of war combined with the rigid discipline of military service leave their mark on all soldiers, shaping their ideals, creating strong bonds, and often leaving them scarred and vulnerable to fear, shame, and hatred. So again, you can roll a d8 or you can choose your own. That's completely up to you and your DM. The personality trait. I am always polite and respectful. I am haunted by my memories of war. I can't get the images of violence out of my mind. I lost too many friends, and I'm slow to make new ones. I am full of inspiring cautionary tales from my military experience, relevant to almost every combat situation. I can stare down the hellhound without flinching. I enjoy being strong and like breaking things. I have a crude sense of humor. I face problems head on. A simple direction solution is best path to success. So in personality trait, let's go ahead and say, since I am a prince, I am gonna be always polite and respectful. So always polite and respectful. Respectful. There we go. And the same thing goes for ideals. You can choose a bunch. Since I am lawful good, I'm gonna go with do what I must and obey just authority. For the ideas, do what I must and obey authority. The bonds, let's see what we have in the bonds. I would still lay down my life for the people I served with. Someone saved my life on the battlefield. To this day I will never leave a friend behind. My honor is my life. I'll never forget the crushing defeat my company suffered at the enemies who dealt it. Those who fight beside me are those who are worth dying for. I fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. So I really like the last one, since we're lawful good. And we're gonna go with I fight for those who cannot fight for themselves. And in our flaws, I had a really funny flaw, which was a pyromaniac, but we're not gonna go with that, right, because that was worked with my DM. The monstrous enemy we faced in battle still leaves me quivering with fear. No, I have little respect for anyone who is not a proven warrior. Maybe. I made a terrible mistake in battle, cost many lives, and I would do anything to keep that mistake in secret. My hatred of the enemy is blind and unreasoning. I obey the law even if the law causes misery. I'd rather eat my armor than admit when I'm wrong. So I'm gonna go with my hatred of my enemies is blind and unreasoning. Hatred for enemies, blind, oops, and unreasoning. So that is pretty much what you get for in terms of your background. So this right here is the first character sheet that you can create when you are a when you create a level 1 character. So for example, just to make sure that you guys understand, intimidation, we have charisma, which is 0, but we have the proficiency bonus, which is 2, so we still get +2 since we got that from our soldier background. The athletics, we have strength, which we already have +3, but since we're proficient, every time that we're gonna do an athletics ability check, we're gonna get a +5. The saving throws, how it works, I had a little bit of trouble understanding them when I first played, but it's very, very simple. Let's see, +3. I'm just gonna put them on, and I will explain them later. +1, +3. Oh yeah, sorry, it's +5 since we're proficient. I'm sorry about that. +5, +5. We have -1 on intelligence. Oops, -1. +1 and a 0, a big round 0. So how does this work? Well, it's very simple. Whenever you're adventuring, whenever you're questing, some things might happen that make you use a saving throw. For example, if you are walking through the forest and it's a trapped forest, well, the dungeon master might ask you to do a dexterity saving throw to see if you can avoid a trap that you detected in the last second. So you would roll a d20, and then you would add your dexterity saving throw. So for example, if I roll a 15, I would get 16. And if I had to make a strength saving throw, for example, I'm fighting a really big orc, and the orc crushes a tree, and the tree is falling down on me, and I don't have any time to move away from it, so I should be crushed by the tree, but the DM might say, well, give me a strength saving throw to see if you're strong enough to just grab the tree and just push it out of the way. So then I would be able to roll, but you know, I might get a 2, and even if I get a +5, well, I'd get a 7, which is not bad, but it's probably not enough to make it out of there without any injuries. And that's how saving throws work. If you are going through an abandoned temple, and you come across a cursed crystal, and the DM might ask you to make a wisdom or an intelligence saving throw, depending on what the crystal holds, and you would have to roll a d20 plus, or in my case, minus intelligence or plus wisdom, and that's how it works. So this is what I wanted to do for the character sheet, just to show you guys what a character sheet, level 1 character sheet would look like. And here we go. So this is a video that I will upload to YouTube, and I hope that you guys enjoyed that. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask them below. I will do my best to answer. Before we go, I just want to show you, you have 2 other sheets that you can add. It's this one right here, which is like if you need more space for your background. This is mainly for your background, and if you have like a bunch of traits that you will get eventually, you know, when you get a little bit higher level, you get to add to that. If you want more space to write your backstory, you have plenty here. You have your character's appearance that you'll be able to describe to your friends, or if you're as lucky as me and have a friend that can draw really, really well, well, he can draw you if you explain to him what you look like. Also, if you find any treasure noteworthy, you get that right there. So, and you have a third sheet that I don't have right here, but it's a sheet that's basically just to write your spells. So these are the 3 sheets that you will need when you're starting a new character. And like I said, if you have any questions, please feel free to comment, and I will do my best to answer them. And that is the end of this video, guys. So I'm very glad that I made it, and I hope that you enjoyed. Now, for those in